You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week is the dynamic duo of Mikes.
TF2 and Mike.
And it's, of course, the Birdman Dodd, Mike Dodd.
Welcome back, guys.
Woo! Was I here last week? I don't remember.
Yeah, we
What the hell did we
had
talk
a
about?
Dragon
we
fruit.
talked about dragon fruit
Oh, yeah! That
and
guy.
the Google Podcast Network.
Oh, yeah. That guy was alright. I like that.
What happened last week? I said, get off my lawn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This week has been like,
I think it's been that way for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's been just so ridiculously busy or frustrating. Usually one or the other.
You know that old saying, one step forward, two steps back?
Yeah.
Well, in my case, it's like one good thing happened and then 7 bad things. It's like I broke a mirror and I had 7 bad things or 7 years of bad luck start to happen. It's like, oh, God.
I wouldn't call mine that dramatic. Mine, it's more like just doing the dance of PR. It's all like professional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm waiting for certain things to happen. Like right now, to a game that I can't mention, literally because they'll cut off my feed. They're like, we're gonna give you a copy of this, but you can't talk about it until next week. I'm like, yeah, I know. It comes out tomorrow.
Burnout Paradise 2?
So, I don't know. Like, it's a little bit of bullshit, but I understand that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Yet, I know people in the community have had this thing for like a week. And I was thinking, okay, how about the journalists get the shit and the YouTubers can, do their shit later. But I understand it's the value of impressions and blah, blah, blah.
See, that's what I don't get. It's like, companies will set embargo dates and they may make a side deal with someone to do an exclusive before the embargo date. That's fine. The company can do that. But then once someone sees it, oh, well, to hell with the embargo. Let's everybody put, specifically comic book previews. I am on IDW's media list, and it says that all previews are embargoed until the day before release. Now, like I said, if IDW and, say, Comic Book Resources or Comic Alliance or whoever has... Or
Bleeding Cool or someone, yeah.
Yeah, someone has, an agreement with IDW to have that exclusive first-look preview. I understand that, but that doesn't mean once that website has it that everybody can put it up. Everybody else can put it up.
The Internet's the Wild West in that regard. Some people respect embargoes, some people don't. Like, for example, we're recording this on Thursday night. I should have had my Call of Duty Black Ops copy earlier this week. I don't get it until tomorrow morning. And I know, that's such a first world fucking problem. But I would have liked to have gotten stuff out the door, at least the kind of campaign. There's a guy online right now, his name is T-Mart, and he's a really well-known YouTuber. Looks like he's a pretty cool dude. He already has the full campaign preview up.
Wow.
Literally. He has 6 hours of YouTube footage. That's the entire game. And he's got, 2 hours of, multiplayer stuff. And I'm just thinking, Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not mad at him. I'm just, it's like, fucker.
It's kind of like, I wanted to be first,
Yeah, it's like, I want to give this as a story, not just as, hey, this is fun sort of thing. But, that's how he makes his money, and I have to respect that. Because I honestly do. I really like the content that he produces. I just wish that maybe the companies had taken care of us a little bit better. But considering this guy has hundreds of thousands of views per day, I really can't argue with that.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you, Steve? I heard about some sort of volcano erupting earlier this week.
Well, it was more than one, but yeah.
People were
It's like if
pissed
you-
off.
You know that mega volcano that's underneath?
Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah, yeah, that was almost the one that erupted this week, but not the actual one, obviously, but metaphorically speaking, yes. For reasons I won't divulge here.
Yes.
There were some incidents with life and some people within it that were causing my life to be pure suckage.
People was being pussy farts, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And then part of it was work, then part of it was school. We got our short film looked over by the teacher. He tweaked a couple things, and he asked us why certain things were the way they were. And I said, because we had a couple of jump cuts, but there wasn't really squat I could do about it because of the fact they were shot on 2 different nights, and people were sitting in those chairs for so long that eventually their arms had to move. And that was part of what happened on a lot of them, so it really just nothing I could do about it.
Well, that's not your job, because you're sound, right?
Yeah, I was sound, but I'm also the editor.
Yeah,
But
but
when
that's
you've done-
up to your, like, continuity person, too. That is not your responsibility.
Yeah, we didn't have a continuity person.
What kind of Mickey
was-
Mouse operation is this, dude?
It should have been our AD, but he didn't. He was having a hard enough time keeping track of what take it was on the clacker.
Wow!
We skipped numbers at points, and when we were shooting this, and I would have sometimes anywhere from 6 to 23 takes, and there would be numbers missing somewhere in between there
Oh my god.
on the clacker, and I would have to figure out why there was a missing gap. So it sucked.
The amount of balls that sucks is amazing.
Because I had to sync up all the audio in the video like later on, so it was not fun. But we've got the film pretty much done. He tweaked a couple of scenes, shortened them up a little bit, brought up some levels of some of the voiceover, and I mean, for the most part, the only thing we really needed were a couple of sound effects, which hopefully the director took care of. But if not, whatever. But it's going to be getting scored in 2 weeks, so hopefully I get out of class for that. I had a paper that was due today, actually, like, technically an hour from, because we're recording this, it's like 10:50 right now. It's technically due at 11:59. I did it in class today.
So you did submit it, right?
Yes, I did submit it. It was funny, though. I got it in. We were watching a documentary. This was after the teacher did his lecture. Well, I wrote my paper during the lecture. Because you had to compare media aesthetics, 6 media aesthetics between 2 movies of a DP.
Yeah.
Director of photography, for those that don't know. And I chose John Toll, who did Tropic Thunder and Iron Man 3. So, both movies I know in my sleep. So,
Iron Man
was easily,
3, really?
Yeah, he did Iron Man 3 and he did Tropic Thunder. There were some other movies in there, too, that I could have done, but I chose those. And the funny thing about it is both of them have Robert Downey Jr. in them. And that was kind of a happy accident that I noticed when I was writing the paper. Because, I was like, oh yeah, that's got him in both. That's probably why I like them. I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
I love that movie, and I find that's a movie that gets better with like time.
I love that movie. That is so great. It's one of those ones I know frontward and backward. You know, you get Matthew McConaughey in there, and he's like, "Did they get you the TiVo?" Yeah. And I didn't know Tom Cruise was Les Grossman in that. So, I mean, until after I saw it in the credits when we watched it in theater. So that was just genius casting. But I was having fun watching YouTube videos of both films, more so Tropic Thunder than the other one. So, but there was a lot of similarities and some differences. So I was able to pool that together pretty well into a paper. Had to write 600 words. I wrote like almost 1,000, so good. I think I'm good. So yeah, that was good. Had Geekcast Radio have some issues this week too. The website. So,
yeah, we're working on a whole new design at this point.
Well, the new design is up.
Yeah.
Because we'd been kind of discussing this behind the scenes, Mike and I had, and I finally, on the old theme which we'd had for about 2.5 years, I'd figured out why the mega menu never worked, and I fixed it. Ooh. That being said, there were other issues with the theme. Like, it got real clunky at parts, and then there were certain aspects, like the slider didn't want to work right, which I fixed as well. But overall, it was just too busy.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of leg room to move some things around. So I switched themes to this one that we have now, and it's a lot brighter, a lot cleaner. There's less garbage in it. I still have a few things color-wise to tweak, but overall it's up, and the mega menu works great. You can kind of scroll through the subcategories of everything and see posts that are in it, and it's kind of nice. And then I can also categorize, instead of having each podcast have its own little bracket, I can actually have core podcasts, and then have all of the core podcasts show up in that one, or the review podcast, or I can branch more than one piece in there, so it's kind of nice in that aspect. So I'm having fun with it, but it's been one of those rough weeks where I want to strangle. If I were a drinking man, I'd be drunk. But
crazy drunk driver.
So that's why I've calmed down tremendously since then. But it's just been a rough week. I'm on vacation in 2 weeks, though, so that'll be great.
Speaking of school, I was actually talking this week with my wife, and I guess I can announce it here first. I think I might go to university next year. I'm thinking about going back to school to do some stuff.
Cool.
Nice.
And I'm also going to take the next year, and I'm literally going to write a book. I'm starting on January 1st, no matter what.
What are you going to write about?
I'm going to design an RPG system right from the ground up. So I'm going to design my own game, my own world, and hopefully, if everything works out right, maybe I'll have a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo by July. That's the idea. Put 6 to 7 months of development into it, make sure I know what the hell I'm talking about, and hopefully make something that doesn't suck.
That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
All I can think of, and obviously I don't think you've come up with a title or anything yet, but all I can think of is you calling it Birdman's World.
Birdman's World. Yeah, it's Elmo.
I was going more towards Beekman, but okay.
I know. I've watched Elmo recently with my kids, so that's why that came up. Yeah, funny enough, I've been actually thinking about writing a book as well, but like in a different direction, like as far as like writing a story novel. Because I did those superhero classes, I basically had to world build some characters and struggles and so on. So I've already got designs of characters and some of the aspects already kind of pre-built for some of the characters, but I have like a whole slew of them that I want to gradually bring into this concept. And I've been kind of mulling the idea of writing a story for a while. And I think I might actually try my hand at it anyway. I'm taking a screenwriting class this winter in college, so that might help me too.
Well, that's good, man.
We're going to have some creative MFers in here.
Yeah, I'm looking
next
forward to having, like, fucking 30-page essays due every week. But I think I might take it in web design or something else. I don't know. I may see if I can go for my Bachelor's of Business, actually. I'm not entirely sure yet.
Well, that'll be cool.
Yeah, then I can add more letters to the end of my name. That's all I really want.
Oh, God. All I can think of is Billy Rosewood from Beverly Hills Cop 3. DGJ IOC.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. I want the whole goddamn album.
See, if you went and got your doctor, you could be Dr. Dodd. Dr. Birdman.
That. I've thought about... See, I could do doctorates on certain things, but who the hell cares if I'm a doctor of philosophy? Ultimately, hey, did you waste money to go to school? Sure did. Or you could take something useless, like... I really want to say this joke, but I know I'll get angry emails. So.
Just say it. You
just do it. They
Okay.
can send it to feedback at Geekcast Radio.
Okay, so I was reading an article this past week, and it's like degrees that are useless, and one of them was women's studies, and I got to thinking about that. Like, I don't know what career paths that specifically opens, and I know a few people that have their degrees in it, and they're not doing stuff in their field. One is a creative person, and that's very good. Another one is just kind of hanging out, working retail. And I just think you went to school for this. Like, what was the purpose? But then again, you could argue personal enrichment, blah blah blah, which is a good enough reason to go back to school in the first place.
Wouldn't that be a good prerequisite for being an OBGYN?
Yes. But I don't know, because even when I was talking with my wife Blair, she's like, Mike, go back to school, but don't you dare take fucking philosophy. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I don't want to be that, like, 30 or 40-year-old hipster who thinks they're cool. But see, I don't want to be pierced from Community, where they just have all these useless backgrounds.
And all I can think of is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Oh, he's a philosophizer now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately, it would be really great if it helps me write, this RPG thing that I want to do, because I know it's a fairly small industry. But, I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I figure with all the people that I know across all the different networks, something good's bound to happen somewhere at some time. So
Absolutely. Other than writing, like, comic reviews or soundtrack reviews or anything like that, I've essentially given up on writing. I haven't written anything original in, 7 years. I had 3 books of poetry published between 2007 and 2009, and it was all crap that I wrote when I was, 6 or 7 years before I had them published. So I've essentially given up on writing original content at this point, unless it's reviewing for something. I don't know. It's just never come back to me, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's while it may be challenging to write something original or create something from the ground up, it's better in a sense just because we get to actually design it instead of having to constantly basically we can create fans of our own.
Mm-hmm.
I just
With our
don't
own
want to
content.
pay to license someone else's content.
That too.
But at the same time, it'll be interesting because I have all these really cool ideas, and with my other podcast, Terrible Warriors, the RPG one, I always get such a good amount of feedback, and I'm thinking, you know what, maybe it's time I actually kind of channel this. So that's kind of the main reason I want to do it. Plus, it'll make me better at math because I have to figure out how a math system will work for this. Because when you think about it, D&D is really fancy accounting with dragons. Just you have to keep track of so much stuff and modifiers. It's basically like learning the friggin' tax code. So it'll be interesting to see how it all gets pulled off. But I don't know. I guess I got just over 2 months to design and get an idea ready, and then start getting the mechanics worked out. But yeah. So there's that. I know one of the things Blanchard, he asked you this last week, since we're talking about school and everything. You've been watching something on Hulu Plus, which weirds me out.
Oh, shut up. It's not that bad.
I'd only watch it because she's hot.
Well, yeah, but, like, if anyone wants to understand where Jar Jar Abrams got his, start kind of thing, essentially
I forgot he got his start in that.
He created that show.
That's amazing.
He created that show. He created Alias. All that stuff. So basically, folks, I'm making my way through Felicity. Just
I
feel, I don't know, need something interesting to
fill the ether.
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you watched
Supergirl's
Firefly?
not doing it for
That's
you?
only 13 episodes.
No, I have not. If it's on Hulu Plus, I will eventually, but I have not watched. Wait, what, Steve?
I says, what, Supergirl's not doing it for you?
It's only 2 episodes in.
It's okay. All right. Well, we'll get to the college crap in a minute. Okay, here's the thing. Supergirl is
let me finish.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that because people were causing this big tirade, and I read it in the comments earlier on the website. Because people are giving it shit because they're like, oh, it's uninteresting and blah 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 blah. And it's like, it's new. Like, what show is great right from the get go?
It's had the pilot and the second episode at this point. The pilot got leaked like 7 months ago, or however the hell long ago it was leaked. And I enjoyed the pilot. I thought the pilot was great. The second episode I thought was really cool. Who cares if they race bent Jimmy Olsen? I don't care. The guy is a damn good actor.
As long as the character's interesting, who gives a...
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like what they did with Sam Jackson playing Nick Fury. I mean, I was perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me personally, all the superhero shows, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Gotham, well, at least those 4, because I don't count Agents of Shit as an actual superhero show. But
it's getting closer to that now.
Yeah.
With the Inhumans.
Especially now that they got friggin' Lash and all that.
Yeah. So with Gotham, Supergirl, Flash, and Arrow, I think they're all doing... Like, Gotham was really bad in its first season because it was really trying to find its feet. But
I hear it's fucking nuts now.
It's awesome now. It's so cool. I mean, they're really killing it on Gotham. And Supergirl, like I said, it only has had 2 episodes, but I like Kara. I like all the characters on the show. And how can you not like something, at least for the overall reference? The pilot has the original Supergirl and one of the original TV Supermen as her parents. It has Dean Cain
and Helen Slater.
I mean, that's
pretty legit.
Yeah, this is pretty legit to me. But
and Gotham and Arrow weren't that great when they first aired either.
Every TV show, if it's in our nerd fantasy, 9 times out of 10, has a really shitty first season.
And I'm not saying that I don't...
Except for Flash.
Yeah, that's the exception, I think.
And Firefly, I would argue.
And Supergirl, while I do like it, it's not like my favorite go-to show, but I watch it because it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest in any of the Marvel stuff that's on Netflix. It's, say what you will, but I just don't.
Try
Motherfucker, you need to try Daredevil.
That's what I was going to...
I tried it. I didn't like it.
Okay. All right.
Well, I don't like the character.
We'll
I think
leave
if it
him
was
alone, Mike. It's all right.
I think. Well, I don't have this tugging feeling to actually watch, or I don't feel the give a crap about these characters that are being put on Netflix.
How many episodes did you give it?
I gave it 4.
Okay, fair enough. You gave it 4 episodes. That's fair.
Because you can't realistically get a good vibe the first 2-3 episodes anyway. So I don't care for Daredevil himself. It just like Jessica Jones that's coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
I
didn't care about it until I saw the trailer last week.
I watched the trailer, but again, it's not. And this is kind of, this speaks ill of me, but I'm gonna say it. I do have a bias towards, and it's not even DC. I have a bias towards the Prime characters.
Mm-hmm.
You get into your Wolverine, your Spider-Man, like even Deadpool to this degree now, who's, by the way, really awesome when he goes trick-or-treating in his costume and making fun of the X-Men. So, I mean, to some degree, like, I even Green Arrow's not, like, Prime level. He is now, like, as far as TV, but, like, these characters, it resonates more with me for these rather than the secondary ones.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I don't feel the tug to watch these.
Yeah. With Daredevil, I've always had...
I just thought he was cool.
Ever since Spider-Man the Animated Series, and he came in with that, and you had Wilson Fisk in that. You had Roscoe Jenkins, I think was the voice actor's name. I forget off the top of my head that voiced Kingpin in that. And then obviously you had Michael Clark Duncan in the Batfleck Daredevil film.
Which is actually one of my favorite superhero movies.
And then
I love that Daredevil one.
Yeah, and then you have friggin' Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean,
yeah, he better
that
win
I will
a
say
Emmy or something for that.
He needs to win something for his Kingpin performances.
That I will agree with you.
Because he was so good in that.
I would say, Steve, if
they came out with a Ghost Rider TV show, I would be all over it. But
wow.
I can only imagine how much that would cost to make.
Yeah.
You know, I can't imagine it being like horrible because once you develop the CGI stuff for the first episode, a lot of it's gonna like kind of come pretty easy from then on out.
And I guess it'd be no different than doing like say Supernatural or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So
no, and I mean if you still stuck with the 13 episode format, you would be fine. I mean because they would get the same budget as a 22 season, and it would
you can do more with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do more with it, so you can make it look better. So, I mean, look at what I mean. I won't deny that Daredevil does look aesthetically pleasing, compared to like something like Agents of Shield or Gotham. But they could apply the same formatting if they were going to do that with like a Ghost Rider or something to that nature.
Okay,
I would love to see just a TV series of a 13 episode season of Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds playing it. I mean,
well, supposedly, I remember hearing this. I think Marvel's developing yet another TV show, and it's supposed to be like a humor-based one. Like it's about the people that clean up after the superhero battles.
That's DC.
No. Marvel's doing it too.
I
remember reading this. I can't remember where, though. But
if they have Deadpool as the office manager, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
See, if they did, like, She-Hulk, I'd be okay with it. As long as they had the awesome Andy, or whatever the hell his name is, the robot that had the block for it. I'd be okay with that. That'd be so cool.
Steve,
Steve,
I'd like if... you can do whatever you want, but at least watch Daredevil to episode 10... Reason I say
that's
that...
telling me to watch the entire season, basically.
Well, no, okay. Okay, then just... skip 5, 6, 7, watch 8, and then watch 10. The only reason why I say that is because episode 8 is entitled Shadows in the Glass, and it gives you a glimpse behind Kingpin and his origin. And then episode 10 is a flashback kind of episode where we actually see how Foggy and Matt first met.
Yeah, that would present.
I really wish I could have gotten that Ripped Apparel shirt that one day. They had a Law and Order style shirt, Nelson and Murdoch, Avocados at Law, and I missed out on getting that shirt. That would have been so awesome to have.
And it's a reference that I think a lot of people get, obviously us super nerds, of course. But yeah, honestly, Steve, if you get the time over the holidays, I would recommend it. I've never steered you wrong.
Watching Enterprise was a little wrong, but...
Well...
DS9 was good, though.
But say, you cannot go wrong with fucking Scott Bakula, because he's Quantum Leap.
Yeah, in Quantum Leap you can't go wrong with him, but Enterprise? Come on.
He had some good moments in it.
It had... Yeah, and especially how it ended. Didn't
Yeah. He got ripped off.
Commander Riker, end program.
Oh, God.
That was just lame as all shit.
The funny thing is, where I remember... When you say, Steve?
We've gone so far on a weird
tangent I know,
here.
but it's alright. We're having fun.
We'll Inception it back to the original concept in a little bit.
Yeah, in a little bit. I remember, after watching Next Generation, the next time I saw Commander Riker, Jonathan Frakes... What?
I didn't say anything.
I keep hearing stuff on your end, but anyway.
You need to get a hearing aid, dude.
The next time I saw Commander Riker, Jonathan Frakes was as the host of Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction on Fox, and I friggin' loved him in that show.
That show was awesome.
Oh, man, I love that show.
But Jonathan Frakes just has that personality where you just like him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
And
very
he wasn't-
likable man.
And he was. It's funny because he's the only actor to be in 4 Star Trek series.
Yeah.
He was in TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise.
Yeah.
So
now that we're a member of Blog Talk Radio and have been for a little bit, I'd like to promote a podcast that's actually on Blog Talk Radio that's also filled with geeky discussion and geeky themed games. So they discuss the most pressing topics every week, like what superhero would you like to sleep with, and what would be your weapon of choice to fight zombies. Plus they play geeky games like Character Cage Match, Geeky Accents, and Smitten Superheroes with super fun guests from the worlds of movies, TV, web series, and comics. They have a live show every Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time at supergeekedup.com. And they also have it every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com/supergeekedup. Be sure to check them out and tell them you heard it on Altered Geek Unleashed.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Want to interact with the show? You can contact us in the following ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the episode post on geekcastradio.com or alteredgeek.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at Altered Geek. Look for us every week on geekcastradio.com, of course, Stitcher Smart Radio, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and alteredgeek.com. And now, back to the show.
So, back to school.
back to school.
I knew that was coming.
I couldn't resist.
So I've been watching Felicity, and part of this is the Noel character in the show is the RA in the dorm. And I thought it would be interesting for us to kind of go around the table and talk about what college experiences we've had. For me personally, I went to 2 semesters at a community college, both first semester times. The first time I tried it, by the end of the first semester, my grades were fine. I did well. But I couldn't find anything at the college then there was no media courses. The main thing they had at this community college was, hey, go into nursing. Yeah, no, So I left after the first semester, and the second time I came in, I remember that first time, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a community college. This isn't like what you see on TV with dorms and everything else. So I didn't really get to have the whole dorm experience. And the second time, the same thing happened. I went in, I did well the first semester, but I just couldn't stay interested in what I was doing. I don't know why. What about
when
you?
I went to school, I was there to prove something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again. When I went to school, I literally decided on a whim. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to college now. And then I had to write my entrance essay. I had to write page 299 of your 300-page biography. And I wrote something along the lines of, I fucking rule. And I got in there. So, yeah, I went into college. I thought I knew everything because I was one of the few people to have a television background. And I was like, all right, I'm going to be here and do... I wanted to be a technician, literally. I wanted to work in master control or be a director or a floor director. That was my thing. I assumed, you know what, if I get up to network television or a local newscast, I'm fine with that.
You wanted to be the master control program, you Tron wannabe.
Oh my god. Man, I used to make that switcher dance. I loved working hockey games and all that stuff where I'd have to switch between 10 different cameras and manage like 8 different audio feeds. It was glorious. Literally, you literally did feel like the MCP. Like it was amazing. But as school went on there, I went there to like I said, to go back and prove something, because almost all my friends from back where I grew up did nothing. And a guy I was friends with for years and years and years, who later ended up stealing my fiance, dropped out of college after like 6 months, maybe a year, and because the teacher was mean to him. And this kid, I would call him fairly talented with his hands. Like, he wasn't stupid. Like, he did like carpentry or something. And then my other friend, a guy I was friends with for like 15 years, we're not friends anymore, went to school and did like television repair or small motor repair. Had no interest in it. Only went because his parents pushed him. And I'm thinking, man, do I so not want to be that? And I went the creative direction, which is obviously very hard if you're not going into like skilled trades or something like, I don't know, doctor, nurse, or any of the really big professional fields. Creativity is the hardest place to make it. And yeah, like I said, I went to prove myself that I can do what I'm doing, and it wasn't until I met my friends from Twig, people like Steve, Pierce, Dave, and the rest of them, it became kind of a competition between all of us to see who could do the best in school. And I never felt like that before. I mean, high school for me was like, man, this is fucking stupid. It was all about playing Dungeons and Dragons, getting laid, and playing video games. That was high school for me. Which then, that's what college turned into me too. But I was at least very well. I very rarely missed a class, and all my assignments were done early and on time. So, yeah, like, college to me was fantastic. Best years of my life. 3 years at Niagara, then a year of grad school to take public relations. And now I'm looking down the barrel of a gun for another year to program via distance education.
Cool. So we've heard Steve's class horror stories, but the horror documentary stories, but overall, your college experience.
Wasn't a documentary. I despise them.
I know.
Which is going to suck, because when I get to that point in the course, I'm not going to have a choice. I'm going to have to shoot a documentary.
Dude, actually, documentaries open so many doors.
I know they do, just from having to watch so many of them in class. I've realized that, but at the same time, I really don't like them. They bore the hell out of me, and I get why they're important. I have a hard time being able to zone in on them myself. And I kind of mentioned that in the top 100 too, of why the mockumentary, documentary type TV shows, sitcoms bore me, is probably the same reason. But no, I mean, initially I tried going back to school right after I graduated high school in 2004. What had happened was I ran into this issue where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so what I did is I went to school for web design and programming, and then I realized that that's too much work and I don't like it. So I said, screw this noise, and then I quit going, which was entirely stupid on my behalf, because then it put me in a bind later that I had to dig myself out of. So fast forward to 2013, winter of 2013, I went back to school, and I had, my first English class, and then I had the intro to media class, and so on. And so I was enjoying it, and I kind of discovered that it wasn't as bad as I had thought originally, and I don't know if it's because I got older and my mind had matured more. And having written things or done things for the network, I was a lot more outgoing than I was after high school. I was a lot more open. I was able to write better without really giving it a second thought, probably because I'm more opinionated and am not really scared of what I think anymore. And so I started blitzing through that. I started all my secondary classes are business classes because I wanted something that if I transfer somewhere, I'm covered if I want to get a business degree. And I'll also have my associates in media production. So I was trying to cover two bases because I'm still not entirely 100% sure I'm going to go for a bachelor's. I probably will, but it depends on what I decide to go for after I graduate this. I only have 4 classes left, so I'm pretty optimistic on getting this done, but it's going to take me a year because of the way my work schedule works. But I had a more clear-cut idea this time, and I think it's because Geekcast Radio. Mm-hmm. And I realized that as a kid, I used to record on tape recorders and record like fake shows all the time. And it never dawned on me that, and I made this kind of gag about it after we did The Beast Unleashed, the seeds of the future lie buried in the past. And I was like, so by me pretending to do these voices and pretending to do these fake radio shows as a kid, who knew that when I got to be in my 20s, that's what I'd want to do. So like and I really enjoy like the editing side of things. So I really like doing that. I want to get into voiceover, of course, but I'm content with trying to get my foot in the door first. And then, if they're like, hey, we need a voice for something, I can be like, hey, I can do that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to go back to college, plus to better my situation. So I'm not, no offense to the place I work because they've been really good to me over the years, but it's not what I want to spend the rest of my life doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, because pretty much you need post-secondary education to do anything, really, of consequence. However, though, it's kind of funny that we're actually talking about this. I had this huge argument on my Facebook this past week, and because in Canada we just swore in our new Prime Minister the other day, Justin Trudeau, and people are like, oh, there's no jobs, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, there are jobs. They're just in the service industry and labor industry. You think they're below you, so you won't take them. And that's the problem with our generation, I think, because you look at people around our age, say 25 to probably 35, those Gen Y, Gen Xers, we all assume we finished college or university and we're just going to coast into that CEO's office and start off with like $50,000 a year, when that's not the reality of it.
No, not at all.
And I'm just thinking, man, and it's funny, though, because people are like, oh, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. For example, there's a radio station near I live right now. I could realistically work there. There's a reason I am not, however, and it's not because do you follow your passions, that's part of it. But I don't know the music because it's country. Well, the thing is, if you're going to be a DJ, you have to perform. You have to know your catalogs of music. You should be able to connect with it on a personal level to entertain your audiences. You should always have, I'm not saying an encyclopedic knowledge of the bands that you're playing every day, but you should know something about them, because there are so many people there who don't know the classics or don't know who did this or what a producer does, stuff like that, or the difference between vinyl, CD, and tape even. And I don't know, to me, if you're gonna be in the arts, in any creative position, you have to care about what you're doing. For example, you're never gonna see Patrick Stewart do a horror movie or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. that's why our generation's a little bit fucked up, and I guess, like I said, I'm part of the problem too, but at least I'm doing something to better my situation than sitting around doing nothing.
Well, see, I really want to get a job in the media industry, and I of course I apply on occasion, but I know I'm not going to get it because I don't have the degree. Even though there's some of it I know how to do because of doing this network, I've learned to do it on my own. But I need that piece of paper that says I know what I'm doing. So, or there might be, formal training tricks that I don't know, and I realize that, and that's why I want to kind of get the degrees so that I can kind of get my foot in the door and do any of that. But at the same time, I'm kind of that opinion too. I don't want to do something that I think is below me, and you can call it stuck up or whatever, but it's just I've worked food, I've worked service jobs. I'm to the point I don't really want to do that. I want to be the guy that knows what the hell he's doing and gets paid decent for doing it. So.
Well, it's funny. There was an article that Will Wheaton posted about a week and a half ago, and I forget
was it about the website Huntington Post that tried to post his article, or came to him and asked him if they could publish it, and he's like, "Is there a paycheck for it?"
Yeah, he's like, "No, fuck you, pay me."
They're like, "No, there's exposure," and he's like, "I don't need your exposure."
Well, yeah, I also saw this other comic, and it was like. And it shows a guy, he's like, "Oh, I'll pay you an exposure." And he hands him a wad of exposure, which looks like money. He goes up to a, hot dog cart. He's like, "Do you take exposure?" He's like, "Fuck no."
It's kind of like Bitcoin. Do you take... Fuck no.
Well, you'd be surprised about Bitcoin. That's more illegal shit than it is anything. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's like saying, "Will you take this piece of paper that it has a number I wrote on it?"
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because, creative people should be compensated for what they do. And it's funny. There's this other meme, too. I always see it online. And it shows a guy playing guitar at, a bus stop, right? And then we see it cross-posed with, a picture of, say, I don't know, Justin Bieber or... whatever. I can't think of anybody who really sucks off the top of my head. But they're like, "You'll pay $80 for this, but you won't pay $1 for this guy who's legitimately playing his heart out." And I always found that kind of funny. And a silence falls over the room.
Well, the funny thing is, between our parents' generation and our generation, something got lost. Because
people got greedy.
Well, there is that, but
I think it's because some of our parents' generation happened to fall into good jobs.
Well,
based on who they knew, and plus their generation didn't need a college degree to get a job.
Well, what I want to point out here is most of my mom's side of the family, my grandfather, my uncles, all of them, they're carpenters. My grandfather was a carpenter all his life. He was I think he was in the Navy back in the day or whatever else, but all three of my uncles that are still alive, Richard, Robert, and Patrick, they all went into carpentry, and they did carpentry for at least the majority of my life, 35 years or more. And, that's, a job that, you show up, you do the work, you have a couple of beers after work, and you get paid. And, yes, you need skills in order to do that job, to build something, and it is somewhat a creative job, but I just don't see a lot of people of our generation nowadays going to the 9-to-5 job. Everybody's...
Oh, no, because they assume it's all corporate expense account and having a secretary and everything. It's not.
No, and carpentry is a perfect example because,
you work with your hands.
You do that, but when my uncles and my grandfather were doing it, they would, I remember my two uncles, Robert and Patrick, they had owned a business called Kitchen Exchange. They would go to work at 6, 7 a.m., not come home till 6 or 7 p.m. They would work 12-hour days all day long, no matter what the weather was.
See, I respect people that do those carpentry gigs. Anyone who does seriously hard, kind of
hard labor, yeah.
Well, yeah, because that takes a certain type of person. It really does, and it really shows a certain type of skill set. And I know right now, at least in Canada, or at least in the province of Ontario, we hear a lot of the politicians talking about we need people in skilled trade. We need tradesmen. That's true. We need a few less publicists and a few more plumbers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Somebody call the Super Mario Brothers. Hurry, quick.
Yeah, like, it's so ridiculous. And, you know, these trades jobs, you can be your own boss, like carpenters. Like, shit, man. You can start your own business if you know what the hell you're, like, doing.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, just I always find that kind of weird.
I think nowadays, I think the reason, and I'm not trying to demean the profession or anything at all whatsoever, I respect it more than anything. I think the reason why a lot of quote-unquote kids today don't get into carpentry is because they're looking for that IT job. They're looking for the because technology is everywhere now.
Yeah.
You know,
And the .com bubble burst a long time ago, really. I mean, unless you're, like, super into game design, I can't think of too many people that get hired for, like, kind of web design jobs nowadays. Steve being the exception.
I really don't get hired for any of that. I do it because I like the organization.
That's a petty shame right there.
Well, I do it because I like the organizations that are involved. Like like Twig, Geekcast Radio, Transformer Network.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't have a problem doing those, is because I like the organizations and I like the people involved. Would I take a paycheck for it? Yes, I would. if it was like somebody else and whatnot. But I would love to get paid for graphic design work too, because I do pretty well at that, I like to think. I think it more so depends on if you kind of fall into it over, because most of our generation doesn't want to do physical labor.
Oh no, because we're all fucking pussies.
That's pretty much it. Our parents' generation is pretty much the last generation of actually going to work and actually doing physical work, which is becoming a lost art. Now, my youngest brother, he works in a shop, like as putting together vehicle stuff. So, kudos to him. He enjoys doing that. I do not. I don't like getting my hands dirty. I would rather sit back and tell somebody else to go do it.
I'm a giant pussy, and I can't. I fully admit this. I'm the least manly man you will need.
I can do something. I can do something if somebody teaches me how to do it, gives me the tools, and then kind of says, you don't really have a choice. Like when my wife tells me to fix something around the house. I'm saying that with the utmost care, because she is right. Because otherwise we'd spend a fortune fixing this damn house. But I totally get why she does that. Like, I learned how to put in a ceiling fan and put in a bracer in the ceiling to hold it so it doesn't collapse on the floor. But so I mean, it's just stuff like that. I kind of get it, but I can work on my car to some degree. I don't like to do it at all. I'm with Dodd in that sense. Like, I don't really want to have to get my hands dirty. I'd rather sit there and run my mouth and write something and call it a day. But
yeah, it's just something that I can't do. It's just not my thing.
And it's not even, for me, it's not even that it's not my thing. Like, I've had jobs where, I've worked at a Holiday Inn once. I've worked at rallies. I've worked at Walmart for about 3 months. But it's one of those things where, because of my physical disabilities, which I try my best not to really, I don't play the disability card all that much. Yes, I was born with a mild case of cerebral palsy. Yes, I was born with optic atrophy with nystagmatism. There is no fucking LASIK for optic atrophy, because it's nerve damage to the eye. It's behind your retina. It's at the nerve. So there's no surgery right now. My vision is, without correction, is 2200. With correction, it's 2060. The problem is when I have glasses and I use them, when I take them off, it kills my eyes. Going back and forth of having them on and having them off. So I try my best not to play the disability card, but the reason why I don't have a job right now is because I physically cannot stand or be in place for a long period of time. I'm anywhere between 5'11 and 6'1". I'm 380-something pounds at this point. Over the last year, I've lost like 35 pounds. This time last year, I was probably close to 420, 430.
And you eat like shit as far as
I don't eat, well, since my mom passed away, I very rarely eat anything anymore. I eat maybe 2 or 3 times a day. But I'm also, with where I'm living now, I have to walk 4 blocks to and from the apartment to get to a bus stop. If I want to go anywhere else, other than like the closest fast food places, and I don't go to them often at all, the closest 2 fast food places are McDonald's and Wendy's, and that's an additional 2 or 3 blocks. It averages out to 16 blocks round trip walking. So it's one of those things where I am being active. I am, moving around. I'm not just sitting here on my ass all day long. But it's just one of those things where if I have a job that is standing up 8 hours a day, I have to be moving or doing things. I can't just stand at a damn cash register, because physically standing is what kills me for long periods of time. I'm sure it kills anybody, but with my disabilities, it just isn't possible for me to stand that long without moving more than, oh, hey, let me just turn over here. Oh, hey, let me just turn over, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. But, the whole thing with the college thing, and the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because of watching the show and seeing the RA deal with one of the advisees that this kid wanted a barbecue in his dorm, he wanted a satellite dish, and they're like, yeah, that you can't do that.
Yeah,
It's against the rules.
I had a kid, because I was the RA for Niagara College, and I let a lot of shit go. We had a kid sneak a couch in. You can't bring in your own furniture. We had a rule against hot plates, which is fine. We only had one stove to serve 300 people, which is retarded beyond belief. But the weirdest thing I ever saw, there was this group of guys up on the 2nd floor. It's college. People like to drink. They built a 6x6 wall of beer cans. Like 6 feet by 6 feet. I couldn't believe it. Never seen anything like that in my life. The smell from that room would knock over a goddamn Sasquatch. Because all the fermenting beer, right? I'm just thinking, guys, this was funny for like a week. It was terrible.
The only time I've ever seen a wall of beer cans was it was in an issue, and this is years ago. This is at least 5 years ago or more. It was in an issue of Stuff magazine where it might have been the one that you're talking about. I don't know. Where they could have been college students, they could have been somebody else, built this wall of beer cans, and essentially they sent a bowling ball through it like that, like it was bowling pins.
Yeah, these guys built a wall. They literally built like a wall in their dorm room. It was so weird. Mm-hmm. Another thing as the RA, I'm trying to think of other really weird instances. Okay, so here's some of the things that I experienced as a resident advisor. Walked in on a threesome. That was fun. Stole a crippled girl's wheelchair. In my defense, we're friends. I chased her down the hall. It was great. Let me see what else.
Wait a second. Who won that race?
Well, I didn't know how to drive this thing at the time, so it was interesting. Let me see what else happened. I had the standing rule in the dorm was, you puke on my floors, I puke in your bed. On my shifts, no one ever puked in the hallway because they knew I would do it. The other RAs, they fucked with them greatly. Let me see what else happened on my shifts. That was kind of weird. I got stabbed. That was fun. We had fire drills. which were more annoying than they were like anything. We had a lightsaber fight at 5 o'clock in the morning between me and like 20 people. So that was I'm trying to think of other really weird things that happened as the RA. Now, I attended this 5-day training course to be the RA. Like they put us up at a fancy hotel in like Niagara Falls. They had us fill out all this paperwork. We all had to be like first aid trained and everything. We're supposed to act as counselors too for people. Mm-hmm. Very rarely did I have kids come to me with like issues. There were odd kids that got really homesick and stuff, but never anything dramatic, so to speak.
Right. You said you got stabbed once?
No. A kid got stabbed while I was there.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you got stabbed. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I should be calling the police now.
Because have I ever told the story, Steve?
Yeah.
Have I told it on this show or?
I'm pretty sure you did at one point because we've talked about some things like that.
Yeah, I got stabbed once. That was not very. The doctor told me essentially it's a good thing I was obese or overweight because this girl, when she stabbed me, she cut through 6 layers of tissue. If she cut even deeper, I would have died.
What the fuck did you do?
You told her to quit interrupting her podcast.
Can I just tell the story again, Steve? I'll make it quick.
Reader's Digest version.
So basically, I was a resident advisor. I was a live-in resident kind of thing for a group home. And this
I think I remember this now.
Yeah, you probably do. I've shown the picture around of the scar everywhere. This kid Luther, he was dating this girl or whatever. Apparently, she thought that she was pregnant with his child. Blah 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 blah. She comes over into the building, puts feces and piss all over his apartment door. He then goes out, throws a portable grill at her. So
a very unwieldy weapon.
Yeah. You think?
So you could say she got burned.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, did she pee on the door herself? Or
no, she actually brought her own. No,
That's
this is
amazing.
Yeah.
She brought a jar.
The piss in a bag.
Yeah. So we're standing on the steps. I'm trying to keep this kid Luther from doing something that could get him kicked out of the program. I'm like, okay, look, I will take care of it. I've got, the other case managers coming out. They're going to talk to you. You just need to go in your apartment and don't do anything because you're going to get kicked out if you do something. So once I got him to go back inside, I turn around to her and I'm like, ma'am, you need to leave. You need to go home. You cannot be on this property. And this, that, and the other thing, everything else. I had my left arm up in a defensive position against my chest. So it's, and she pushed me. So, and if the girl's pregnant, whatever, but I didn't physically shove her with my hands. I took my arm defensively and pushed her back. Mm-hmm. The next thing I know, she takes, I don't know if it was a switchblade, if it was an army knife. I have no friggin' clue what the hell kind of knife it was. She takes a knife out and basically plunges it into my left arm, my good arm, and drags down my arm. Okay? So eventually they got her, other people that were already out there, the other residents got her off of me. The ambulance came. I went to the hospital, everything else. Eventually I had to go to court over it and had a restraining order and all this and all that and everything else. And I still to this day remember the judge's words. He's like, well, you're getting 6 months, but you should be getting more than that. And, he basically told her, it's like, oh, great. He asked her how far along she was in the pregnancy. She told him. He's like, oh, great, having babies in jail. That's just what we need now. But yeah, no, that was an interesting experience. So I guess it was a good thing that I was fat back in the day, even though I'm still fat now, but at least it saved my life.
That's fucked up, yo.
I know.
So speaking of being stabbed, we should probably talk about Fox News.
Yeah.
Stabbed,
God.
stabbed in the heart with a
they're-
lightsaber.
Well, since their ignorant commentator and host had the audacity to say that Star Wars is overrated, and they can understand why people enjoy it, and why it's such the major firestorm into the theaters this season. And
You know why they're pissy? Because Fox doesn't own it anymore.
yeah, that's
They don't
part of it.
have
Well, I was
distribution.
Well, and when I was talking to my teacher about this, he, because I got him on an 1.5-hour tirade a couple weeks ago, which was awesome, because I prevented him from teaching anything that had to do with the class, and he was teaching about movie studios. 20th Century Fox, when Lucas, originally did this, the original trilogy, had the rights of distribution for those 3 Star Wars, or in any future Star Wars movies that he would come up with or plan, which is why he had to wait until when The Phantom Menace came out to do it all on his own. Because if he would have started developing them prior to that, Fox would have had distribution rights.
Interesting.
So he, sharked them out of getting any more money off of his franchise because he didn't want them getting any of the merchandising or anything else. Although he did broker that deal early on, which is why he's a smart SOB. But I find it funny, though, that how ignorant and judgmental these people are, and how ugly this chick looks when she's sitting there running her face and trying to sound intelligent. I've been having fun reading everyone's comments on this. Even a guy from work that I posted this to, he says, I think they had a hard time digging up someone stupid enough to argue with the success of the film. Basically saying that she blows, and then what action sci-fi film hasn't been hyped months in advance? They make the real money from merchandising, like her makeup.
Someone on my Facebook had a really funny comment about her. They said, she looks like the kind of woman who knows what the underside of a bleacher smells like. That, I thought, was particularly clever. Terrible! But
She must have snorted a lot of lead paint as a kid. And then the Fox News guy isn't much better. He's completely,
he's playing clueless.
I know he's paid to play the part, and she is too. But the guy that was the Star Wars fan, I don't know where they plucked him from, but kudos to him for not punching her in the
Straight up
throat.
in the head, yeah.
Saying, okay, all right, you're gonna say this isn't the most rated thing, although they'll bend over backwards to play their sports.
Yeah, I was about to say, how is this any different from you assholes watching football on Sunday?
Because they're sports fans and we're geeks. Which, never mind that the term nerd and geek kind of come into play with, I don't know, anything you're enthusiastic about.
Well, here's my thing. They can throw tailgate parties where they paint up their faces, wear the jerseys. We wear a stormtrooper costume, but once every couple of years.
And we're a freak.
And we're the weirdos.
Yeah, I didn't get that. And when I saw that, I tried to take it with a grain of salt, but it just offended me on every level. Even though I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan, I realized that it is probably the most well-known and strongest and most loved franchise out of anything that we've ever gotten.
Yeah,
and to say that it's not, and
it's
to
hard
say that
to
it's
find a person who honestly hates Star Wars. It's hard.
Oh, I know.
Because
I mean,
that whole
yeah,
good versus evil thing. It's very simple, and people love that.
well, and you may have people that like Star Trek over Star Wars or Star Wars over Star Trek, but I just can't fathom somebody being this. they were basically they were doing worse than you do, Blanchard, as far as like making assumptions of things, because at least you have part of the facts when you're bashing something.
Great.
She had no
so
clue
I'm
what.
one notch above Fox News.
No, you're a couple notches above that. They're like they're eating, you know, the dirt off the bottom of your shoes. That's how low they are. But they were jumping into this whole conversation with no reference and no, like, you could tell that they didn't have a clue what they were talking about, but they wanted to have something to converse about Star Wars, so that they weren't the only ones left out about it. And she's like, I just can't imagine how it's so important, and yet they crashed a website.
Say, lady, what was the last movie you saw in theaters? Like
The Notebook.
No, you got to give that one a little bit more props. She probably watched Paranormal Activity and was freaking out and was like, "This is the greatest thing since Blair Witch."
Well, like, it's so funny. I'm like, lady, you work with Fox. Fox really became a bigger household name in the 70s because of Star Wars and, like, Alien and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Like, lady, Fox is built on the back of sci-fi nerds. Fucking respect, man.
It's like, you must not like your job.
I just wonder whether Fox, as a company, finds half of these people that they put on Fox News.
I'll tell you what happens. They get fired from the other stations, and so Fox is like, we'll take them.
He'll work for Beer Nuts. He's hired. It's ridiculous.
I would love to work at Fox News only for the fact that apparently you can say whatever the hell you feel like it and keep your job.
Yeah, pretty friggin' much. I mean, if they've kept Bill O'Reilly on the air for all these years, clearly they're doing something right.
And I was thinking at the same token, it would be fun to actually bash them with knowledge that they don't possess.
Yeah, like, it utterly astounds me, just the fact that they can get away with it. Actually, there was a guy on my Facebook this week, and he knows how to take a joke 9 times out of 10. But I made a crack about this, about the whole Star Wars thing. He's like, Fox News is dangerous. I'm like, yeah, I'll give you that, but calm down, have some dip. It was just so ridiculous. Although that's the thing, though. News like Fox is dangerous because people believe it to be fact. Because, like, I remember during all their presidential election coverage, utter bullshit it was. And I know, Blanchard, you're no fan of Jon Stewart, but people like him and Colbert called Fox out on it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jon Stewart in the sense of him coming in, and I understand it's a booking thing, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm just not a fan of him coming into the WWE and screwing certain people out of certain things. That's what I'm not a fan of. Colbert, I like him. I think the best thing I ever saw him in was a character episode of Law & Order Special Victims Unit he played in, but Jon Stewart, whatever.
I like them both because they actually question the status quo on everything. So,
yeah.
And they back it up.
And they aren't paid opinions. They're actually what they think. And
yeah, they're not fucking shills.
Yeah, like everybody we have running for office right now.
I don't know. I kind of like that old guy, Bernie Sanders, from what I've read so far. He seems pretty nice.
Yeah, but he's going to be weekend at Bernie's when he gets elected.
Yeah.
He's going to be weekend at Bernie's with the Double Down from KFC.
Man, if you ever get a chance to try the Double Down, I so recommend it.
Are you kidding me? Have you never not seen Spade's video? That thing nearly killed him.
Oh, I've had a couple over the years. They're not that bad.
I'll get you the video link.
I actually had a burger this week that had Reese's peanut butter cups inside of it.
Was it from Hawaii?
No, it was from a place called The Works up here in Canada, and they're known for doing gourmet burgers. They have, like, elk, deer, beef, of course, and they tried something weird, and it was called the PBC. And I've had peanut butter on a hamburger before, and it was actually really good. But I tried it the other night because I'm thinking, you know what, it's weird. There's no way this is going to be around in 6 months. So I'll try it, and it was weird. Not great, not terrible. About a 6 out of 7. Or sorry, about a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 7. But back to your stuff we were talking about. Yeah, like with Colbert and Jon Stewart and the writing staff between those teams, I felt like I was getting the straight dope, so to speak. I would also argue John Oliver is brilliant. Like, the way he explains a lot of the problems in the U.S. and can actually source that stuff, that guy, motherfucker, he's brilliant.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. That guy does, he does have his crap together. I was quite surprised at some of the stuff I've seen come out of that guy as far as content that he's published. He's usually pretty spot on, like, especially making fun of, like, how crappy our school systems are, and as far as how, like, the government gets involved and everything. So it's kind of refreshing to see these late night hosts actually be more credible than the actual news we watch.
Which is really sad, because I remember a couple years ago there was some statistic or some poll or something that came out. Most people got their news from Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert rather than CNN or MSNBC or whatever.
Have you seen Man of the Year?
No,
with Robin Williams? Actually. It is very much that. They actually, in that movie, it's there's, you got your almost like wannabe Al Gore and almost wannabe, George W. Bush, and they're that cookie cutter type of character, running for office. One's running for re-election, the other one's running for office. And then you have this Colbert or Stewart-like late night comedy host in the character of Tom Dobbs, which is played by Robin Williams. And he basically ends up running for president because people are like, why don't you run for president? And, like, he actually gets it.
That's funny.
But then, it's a lot of other stuff thematically in the film, but it kind of touches down to the fact that, and it even mentions that most people get their news, incredible news, from, people like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert compared to the actual news.
Well, it's because, like, there are very few people in the media, like the actual traditional news media, that I trust. And I remember once upon a time, I used to like Bill O'Reilly because he was on a show called Hard Copy. Like, because it was always on before, like, Wheel of Fortune or something up here. And I used to watch it with my parents during the 90s. And I used to really like the guy. And then when I got older, I started listening to the stuff this guy was putting out on Fox News. I'm like, what the fuck, man? And I remember listening to people like Rush Limbaugh on the radio and Glenn Beck and all of them. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. You could never get away with this shit in Canada. But I guess, we have a smaller population, but, whatever. But point of the matter is, like, it's so extreme, your news coverage. Now, in Canada, yeah, we've got the Sun News Network, which is our version of Fox News, or discount Fox News, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say they don't put out some good content every now and again, but it's so weird because in your country, there's so many people that are, you know who the shitty journalists are. You know who the shitty talk show hosts are. In Canada, you could name maybe 2, maybe. And the only reason one of them is kind of fucked up is because he's a former talk show host turned senator who stole money from the government, so he's like a douchebag.
You mentioned your new prime minister earlier, Trudeau.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau.
I remember when I first started seeing you post about this guy, I'm like, is that Kevin's brother? Because Kevin Trudeau is that money-grubbing guy, the infomercial guy with, how to get free money out of the government. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, he had one brother, Michael, but he died in an avalanche back in, like, I think 2000 or something like that. But, yeah, it's a lot of people in my country were like, oh my God, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. I'm thinking, well, the people spoke, and they didn't like the other guy. But one of the things my government is promising to do is to do electoral reform. And one of the things they're going to try and get rid of is first past the post. Basically, whoever gets so and so many votes or wins the popular vote is elected. So in theory, if we have a really low kind of voter turnout, 15% of the population should not speak for 100% of the country. You know what I mean? It's proportional representation. And I know your country's had trouble with it too, because I think in DC you're not accurately represented, or other states are worth more because there's more like kind of people in it. And it's really fucking weird. I wish I knew all the stuff I needed to know about politics. I find it tremendously interesting.
I find two quotes that I'm going to say from the Man of the Year movie. It's oddly, it's even though it's a parody of the process of elections and all of the stuff involved in that, it is very hard hitting on all of it. There's this quote, for instance, the people are voting, there's an election, and the democratic process is working. The only sour note, the people won't end up with the candidate that they voted for to be president. We can still celebrate the process. The democracy, which we hold so dear, will have worked. Everybody's going to be satisfied. Perception of legitimacy is more important than legitimacy itself. That's the greater truth. And then there's another comment that the Robin Williams character says towards the end of the movie: politicians are a lot like diapers; they should be changed frequently and for the same reason.
Yeah, it's true. And it's weird though, because in your country, your government, you can only serve 2 terms
as president, but you can serve till you die on everything else.
Yeah, which I find that really fucking weird. I'm like, the same person should not be in power for 20 fucking years. I mean, in some places we call that a dictator.
Yeah, we've got some that have been in there for 40 to 50 years.
It's nuts, and I really hope some kind of reform does come for both countries, because I think, obviously, we all get better when our politicians get kind of better. So, I don't know. I mean, I know you guys just had a couple of elections this past week, actually, in a couple of different states.
Yep.
People were talking about, I think, Blanchard, you live in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
I think that's your first Republican governor in 40 years, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I always find it tremendously interesting, because I think John Oliver did a piece on this past week, talking about how people are angry at, like, Medicare and Obamacare, and I wish I understood more about it. I really don't. Because in Canada, we've always had universal health care.
Yeah, I don't understand Obamacare at all whatsoever. I'm still on.
They don't understand Obamacare.
Well,
that's the reason why it doesn't work.
People.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anybody. It just increases premiums, so by the time you have to actually go to the hospital or the doctor, your premium that you have to pay in order to actually get anything paid for is like $7,500.
I don't know. There's a guy I know, and the fact that this exists now, he's able to afford having a child. Like, his premiums went down for something. I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of complicated math, and I can't pretend to know what I'm talking about with it. So moving on from that, because I don't want this to turn into a huge political podcast. I can talk about Canadian stuff all day. American, I'm a little sketchy on.
Should we bring up Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek, yeah, a new series going to be premiering January 2017. Only on I think the first episode's on TV, then the rest are going to be on CBS Go and CBS kind of streaming services.
All access, yeah.
I am very curious to see which direction this is going to take.
From what I gather,
what continuity is going to follow.
What I gather, it's not going to follow the reboots.
It's not going to do the reboots?
It's not going to follow the reboots, from what I gather.
Interesting.
It's going to be its own thing.
Interesting.
So I don't think that they're going to take any of the past continuity, and I don't think they're going to take any of the film continuity. I think it's going to be its own beast. So there is that.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that they're missing the mark on is one, they should have been greenlit a long time ago, so it coincided with the new release next year.
Mm-hmm.
2, I think it's a big mistake to only have it on the app.
If they're smart, they'll make it available on demand as well. And my guess is they'll figure out a way to put it out through like iTunes or something.
Well, this is my thing.
Or they'll offer distribution rights to certain TV stations, or maybe they'll sign an exclusivity deal with someone.
Well, this is my thing. If it's going to be on the CBS All Access, I could see if you're going to give it to the All Access people like a week ahead of time before the cable people, which would be perfectly acceptable. But like, it's already going to be owned by CBS and on a CBS station anyway. Why can it not air on television instead of always, except for exclusively on the app? Because if it's exclusively on the app, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to pirate the damn show because I'm not going to pay extra on top of my cable bill to watch the show when I can, one, get it without commercials, and I can get it, whenever the hell I feel like it, compared to if it's on cable, I'll sit through the commercials and I'll actually watch it on cable.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with the new Trek series. I really don't know if it's going to be on the app. If it's going to be... See, here's the thing, folks, and I know I've said this before. When I moved into my new apartment, I found out that I essentially, unless I want to have my cable TV at my desk where I'm sitting at my computer at all hours of the day, I essentially cannot have cable TV in this apartment unless it's in the living room, because there's 2 cable jacks in the living room, one which does not friggin' work. And there are no cable jacks in the bedroom, where usually I used to have my TV and watch, so I'd have 2 different areas to go to for my...
Play by a splitter.
Yeah, it's a whole other... But anyway, so I'm now watching The Flash and Gotham and Arrow and all that stuff the next day when the new episodes hit Hulu Plus. So
see, these will never hit Hulu Plus
I know.
Because CBS doesn't... They didn't want to pay into the Hulu program, so...
Yeah.
Which is a big fucking mistake, because they're going to screw themselves out of potential revenue streams, getting this TV series in front of as many eyes as possible, because this CBS stuff, I guarantee it'll be region locked.
It's not going to be like the HBO thing. I mean, they're trying to shoot to be like HBO in this essence, but I think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, like, you need to earn the goodwill of the people first before you can even do something like this.
And I don't see why they wouldn't put it on iTunes for like a season pass or something. That's just more money that they're going to get.
Yeah.
I've bought season passes on iTunes before, or I've bought seasons of television on iTunes before, and before Hulu Plus and Netflix and all that stuff ever happened, I was buying season passes I have season 5 and season 6 of FX's The Shield on iTunes. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't see why they wouldn't put it on iTunes. I don't know. I think the problem with, not necessarily CBS specifically, but with the television networks, unless you're putting it on Hulu or unless you're putting it on Netflix, you're coming up with your own app, because we live in a mobile world. Everybody has smartphones, everybody has tablets, everybody has all this stuff, and I don't understand why they couldn't have just made a deal with Hulu or Netflix or whatever instead of I'm sorry, I'm paying for Netflix and Hulu. There's no way in hell, unless a CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC show shows up on one of those 2 things, I'm not paying for another damn service. I'm just not. And half the time, the CBS shows that I do watch, they put them online for free on their website. I don't know.
I think it's because the model of television that these networks are used to dealing with does not work anymore.
It's changed. So, yeah, I mean, they have to keep up. Like, the times they are changing. This is not 1989. This is not 1990 anymore, where it was all Nielsen households and whatever else. And like I just said, you have the iPads and the iPhones and the tablets and whatever, Android and all that. I don't know. the landscape of television over the last 5 decades or so has dramatically changed.
It changes year to year.
I mean, what was it, Mike? Not even like 5 years ago, the networks weren't even willing to accept the DVR numbers or whatever else, and now it's like that's what they're going by, as well as the rest of the ratings of actual people watching it live as it happens. But they're also counting in those recorded numbers off of people's DVRs.
Yeah, because that's how shows get popular now. Because
Yep.
you can watch it when you want, that literal on-demand content.
Yep. There is one more thing we ought to bring up, and I'm not trying to bring the show down, but we have lost a really awesome custom car creator. Recently, I think as of today, George Barris, who created
the Batmobile guy.
George Barris created the Batmobile, created the Knight Industries 2000, all these other custom cars, has passed away. Man, that... It just makes you think. It's just one of those things where, we always assume everybody's going to be around forever, and obviously no one is, but...
Speak for yourself.
Oh, please, don't even start.
There could be only one, motherfucker.
Don't even start with the zombie apocalypse BS.
No way.
I plan on living forever.
I'm fucking immortal, baby.
Right. Anything else we have to bring up, Steve?
I don't know if you want to bring up any of your video game stuff, Mike, but...
Well, let me see. Right now, I'm currently playing through the new Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, exclusively on Xbox One. I can't tell you what my final impressions are because I'm embargoed for that, but overall, it's fantastic. Like, the platforming is definitely a step up from last year. The puzzles are a lot more involved. Some of them are really goddamn annoying.
Is this a sequel to the other one?
Yes, and
Okay.
It does such a good job with it. They advanced the storyline of Lara Croft. Like, I really, really, really like it. So I'm looking forward to having my final review at some point next week. I'm going through the campaign. I'm like 7 hours in, I think, give or take, but I do a lot of exploring, so there's a lot of that, too. Tonight, like I said, tonight, as of this recording, Call of Duty Black Ops comes out. It'll be the biggest launch in probably the last couple of years, because the Black Ops launches are always huge. So I'm looking forward to that. I actually got one of the special editions for Black Ops 3. I got the little mini fridge one, the Juggernaut. So looking forward to playing with like that tomorrow. My fridge will make sounds at me. And it's zombie themed. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. Star Wars Battlefront comes out next week too. If you're an EA Access member, it comes out on the 12th. So really looking forward to playing that. Yeah, it's a good time to have a video game console. Unless you want to play Batman Arkham Knight. If you're on the PC, fuck you.
See, I don't have an Xbox One, nor will I have one in the near future, so I can't play it yet.
See,
and I have no...
wait for like a Black Friday sale or something.
I would, but like then I'd have to because isn't it backward compatible with the 360 now?
Yes. As of next week, there will be over 100 titles available backwards compatible, and they'll be adding more each month.
See, I would be more apt to get rid of my Xbox 360 then, but
don't, because not every game will be. However, though, that also being said, if you trade in your Xbox 360 to certain retailers like GameStop or EB Games or whatever, you do get additional trade credit. So it is possible for you to get an Xbox One for like $100.
Huh.
So you just have to watch the deals online. Always keep an eye out.
Sounds good.
Because I love my Xbox One.
So, Spectre, the next James Bond film, is coming.
I've heard mixed things about it so far.
It's actually going to be out, I believe, the day that this episode releases, November 6th, 2015. I don't know if it was done in preparation for the film or what the deal is, but Dynamite Comics has launched a new James Bond 007 ongoing, written by Warren Ellis and done by Jason Masters for the art. I will actually be writing a review of issue 1 at some point, once I get around to reading it.
I've heard good things about the comic, actually.
Yeah.
But the movie, I hear it's not as good. It's not as good as Casino Royale, and slightly less good than Skyfall. So,
As long as it's not as god-awful as Quantum of Boredom was, that's
Quantum
okay.
of Solace was fucking stupid. That's the only Bond movie where I literally walked out pissed off. I was like, man, I'm so sad I had to pay for this. And the theme song sucked. I don't know who did the theme song for this year's.
Not Sam Mendes, that's the director. Crap, what is his name? Sam Smith, that's what it is.
Oh, I haven't heard it then.
Neither
I don't
have
know
I.
what you kids listen to these days.
Yeah.
Satan's little helper.
Wait, what'd you say? What the fuck was that?
But yeah, there's also, what else is coming out tomorrow? The Peanuts movie, and I've heard nothing but good things about that so far.
What's going to be so great about that is they didn't have to recast for Snoopy and Woodstock. They're using archived vocal footage from when Bill Melendez was still alive.
Well, that's good. The fact that they have so much to actually choose from.
Yep.
That's even an option. I think that's fantastic.
Yep.
And it looks like it should. It looks like a Peanuts movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm super hyped for it. I'm going to try and get out and see it sometime in the next week or two, because I haven't been out to the movies in a while. I kind of wish I went out and saw Goosebumps, but I can wait for that to come out.
At this point, there are so many movies I can wait for media release.
Although, I do have my tickets for opening day Star Wars, so I'm not missing that.
Of course you are.
Although, speaking of that, I know AMC theaters and in Canada, Cineplex, they've been talking about how cosplay is not quite discouraged, but at Force Awakens screenings, you can't wear anything that covers your face. Well, that makes sense considering the violence that's happened in theaters in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I actually called the vice president of communications of Cineplex Canada on Tuesday morning, saying, "Hi, what's Cineplex's official stance on this?" And they're like, "We encourage cosplay. You want to show up in a stormtrooper outfit? That's fine. Just make sure you're recognizable. Like, don't have your face covered." I think face painting may fall into a bit of a gray area. But ultimately, just, think about it. Like, don't show up in a full outfit that covers your face. And that just makes sense from, a law-abiding citizen's point of view. But I can see how that may take down the experience for some people, which kind of sucks, because part of the fun of going to Star Wars movies is seeing all the cool costumes. Although I'm pretty sure AMC theaters said they're not even allowing lightsabers.
See,
but that could be a big visual distraction.
The whole point. Yeah. But see, here's the thing. Unless it's a screening at a convention, if you want to dress up as a stormtrooper, fine. If you want to dress up in the Jedi robes and have a lightsaber on your hip, fine. Anything else beyond that, like lightsaber that's for convention use only. The whole point is you're going to see the movie. You're not going to role play the damn thing. You're supposed to.
Have you ever been to a huge fan screening before?
No.
Exactly. You don't get it. Part of that, it encourages community. Like, I met some really fun people waiting in line for the Transformers movie. I've met, when I first saw Star Wars Episode 1, I was in line for 13, 14 hours, and I met a lot of really cool people. We had a lightsaber fight before the movie started, and we just basically, once you enter the theater, everybody respects everybody. Everybody shuts up, cell phones off, etc. But part of the theater-going experience is to literally, bring out your costume and have some fun.
Right, and that's fine before and after the show. I'm talking about during the show.
Most people are too engrossed to do anything during the show anyway. They just carry the stuff with them.
Some people will clap or cheer during a certain point in the movie, and I think that makes a great audience.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who will applaud when certain things happen. I myself, since like I said, since I've gone through film school now, I'll stay to the end of the credits because I think it's respectful to the artists and the people that actually worked on it. Plus, we're now in this thing of the post-Marvel reality where everybody wonders is there going to be a post kind of credit scene. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I can see why the theaters are doing this. I hope people do it and they bring out some really, really, really awesome stuff. But, like I said, there's a lot of wackos out there.
Yeah.
You don't want... Because I think there's a guy in Sweden, like, 2 weeks ago, showed up in a Star Wars outfit and shot up a school or something.
God,
which is fucked up. I mean, who does that?
Weird people.
Fucking,
but I guess to bring it back to a lighter note, is there anything you guys want to promote before we take off?
Yes, actually. I should have a bunch of rads over the next couple of days, or at least over the next week. I have an interview with one of the developers from Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero Live. That'll be on Nerd News tomorrow, which should be fairly late in the day. I'm interviewing Jamie Kennedy from the Scream movies and the documentary Heckler. I forget what the movie is I'm interviewing him about tomorrow is, as I have to watch it tonight. But that should be pretty fun. And finally, Botched Roll. I know I've talked about it for a few weeks. Is being recorded again over the weekend. And because I missed Halloween, I'm going to talk about Call of Cthulhu, because there's a new game coming out, hopefully before the end of the year. So I just want to talk about Call of Cthulhu and all sorts of spooky shit. It'll be fun.
Yep. For me, let's see. I am going to be pre-recording a bunch of stuff for the pull bag for December, because December is going to be Dark Side December, where Ryan Drost from Star Joe's and I are going to be reviewing the Thrawn trilogy and Dark Empire. So there'll be that.
The comics or the novels?
The comics. It's a comics podcast.
I wish you told me about this, because I totally have all this.
Yeah. We're also going to be doing an episode on Shattered Empire, the one that bridges from Return to Force. So we'll do that. Let's see what else is going on. Showtime Synergy is still going strong. Powers of Grayscale is still going strong. Tooncast Beyond is coming back. Sadly, it happened again this year. I'm not going to be able to get to 25 Days of Christmas, but I still have plenty of stuff that we'll be able to do. Yeah, that's it. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm going to be recording an episode of my wife's podcast tomorrow, possibly on the fast food industry.
That's going to be a fun listen.
So yeah, there's that. And then my son's birthday is Monday, so going to be doing that. So, what are you guys' Twitter handles?
If you want to find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, everywhere, I'm at Birdman Dodd. And you can also find me on Xbox Live under Birdman Twig if you want to play some Call of Duty Black Ops or some Halo or even Destiny. I need a team for raids. So hit me up there, guys.
Find me on Twitter at TFG1Mike. On Facebook, it's TFG2Mike.
Alrighty, and you can get a hold of me at SCP-21. So until next time, get Altered Geek Geeky with the Altered Geeks.
May the Force be with you!